Your most valuable asset is your reoccurring customer, I think. Because as soon as you do business with someone one time, if everything goes well, or even if things don't go well, but the experience was good, transparent, etc., they'll want to keep working with you longer and longer and longer.
You're not a unified front where the messaging, every single person, you, John, Doe, every single person is all on the same page, representing the company, the brand in the same exact way when it comes to customer experience, customer service. If it's not a unified front, like everybody on the same page, everybody speaking the same language, then you're going to have severe problems.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome to Venture Hustles Podcast. I'm your host, Saj. And today, Jack and I will discuss something that often makes or breaks a startup, customer experience. In an era where competition is fierce, it's crucial for startups to keep their customers at the core of their business models. So today, we're going to explore that, and let's dive right in. How are we doing, man?
Fantastic. How you doing?
Good. How's your week been?
Week's been fun-filled. I think this is a great topic for this week. Why
has your week been fun-filled?
No, just a lot of customer service, customer experiences that I've been handling with great pride. So,
yeah, you're usually good at that. Customers really like you.
Yeah,
most of the time.
I do my best.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not only when everything's going great, but more importantly when things are going not so great, where that customer experience is very important.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this, right? I think both are very possible, and a lot of times people when they start a company or when they end up building a successful brand, they tend to neglect customer experience, customer service. Because it often is an oversight, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's more just about, okay, this is what they paid for, let's just deliver it to them. It's just a start and then the finish, not really much view of how we kind of get to the finish line, and that's kind of where that experience comes into play.
Absolutely. And I think that it's when it's neglected, people don't understand the value and the importance of what they're neglecting. Customer experience is so vital for you to be able to build a successful brand, for you to get recurring customers, especially if you're a business that has a model of being able to service recurring customers.
Yeah.
And when it comes to customer experience, that is everything. That's king. So, I mean, we've had our fair share of good experience, bad experience. It's an ongoing thing. And it's a forever learning thing for me personally.
Yep, for sure.
I don't think there'll ever be a point where it's like, okay, top notch. Even some of the best companies in the world that have incredible 5-star customer experience and service still keep improving. So it's just one of those things. But
always got to get better. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, 100%. It's not just a strategy, right? It's a culture.
Yes.
That's basically every level that infiltrates every level of a successful business.
Yes.
So when customers feel valued, they're from a one-time customer to a recurring customer, the transition is absolutely seamless.
Yeah, I mean, and also to keep in mind, a lot of times the customer experience can have an effect on like your pricing model too.
Yeah.
People will pay, and I know this goes like personally also for me, I'll pay so much more if the experience is great. And a great example of that is, when you're dining at a restaurant.
Yeah.
I will pay anything if I know the service and the experience is fantastic. And obviously with some places you expect it to be that, especially if it's a more bougie or fancy place, let's say. And sometimes they don't deliver that, which for me, I can't stand.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that the best marketing campaign any business can have is a satisfied customer.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot that we wanna touch on, and I mean, I guess we could kick off. Like, is there anything? Can you share a little bit about why you think customer experience plays a critical role in every business?
Well, I think we kind of just touched on, some of those points, but even outside of that, kind of like you'd mentioned, where especially in every company or every business, your most valuable asset is your reoccurring customer, I think, because, as soon as you do business with someone one time, if everything goes well, or even if things don't go well, but the experience was good, transparent, etc., they'll want to keep working with you longer and longer and longer. And so it's always easier to continue to do business with someone that you've previously done business with than to try and go out and get someone new.
Yeah, your costs are low, and
absolutely,
you've already done all the legwork.
The transition is there, and it's easy.
They're familiar with the product, the service. There's just more pros than cons.
Absolutely.
The cons are very limited, and it's just difficult, right, to be able to get loyal customers and building that. But that's always very, very rewarding when you do that, right? It expedites everything, like your revenue numbers.
At one point, it's not really, you're not selling them anything. It's more like, okay, what are we doing next here? Because you've built that relationship, and the reason why you've built the relationship is because the experience that that customer has received has been great, or at least satisfactory.
Yeah.
So now they're willing to kind of keep going and take the next step. Now, obviously, customer experience matters for every company, but I know your background. You've been in a lot of startups. You've had your fair share. Why is the customer experience so important when it comes to startups specifically? Do you think that there's points that they should focus on more than, let's say, a more established company? Or, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, in the startup world, customer experience is our currency, right? Basically, the more it's how we differentiate ourselves from a crowded world, right? In a crowded market.
Sure.
Right. I think because it drives because the goal is customer loyalty. Anything that you do from word of mouth to fuel word of mouth marketing that cultivates a community around it. So I think it's a lot of just the intricacies behind it is so overlooked at times, and I'm guilty of it, and I could say that you've been part of that process and that journey. Is that we've done so much when it comes to customer experience to improve it.
Yes.
And even then we're not perfect, but it is the lifeblood of good recurring revenue and growth.
Yes,
I would say.
Absolutely. I mean, I would completely agree with that. I'm not sure if I even have much to add, other than one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years is that not only is the customer experience based on the communication, but also this is something that commonly happens in the business that we're in the technology space, is we'll be building a project and we'll have deliverables this is what we're delivering, X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And as we start to go through the process, there might be one small thing that technically, right, is not in the agreement. We don't have to do it. But the client, let's say, may have X for it, or maybe they haven't. And I know that this is very small. I know that it wouldn't take much for our team to accomplish that task.
Right.
And I know that to accommodate, correct. And for the client, I know it's going to work wonders and they're going to be very happy. That kind of thinking and being able to execute on things like that, I think also improves the customer experience so much, right? Because now it's almost, you're not doing them, I mean, I guess technically you're doing them a favor, sure, but it's more like, hey, I'm looking out for you. I actually really want you to do well. It's not all just about deliverables. It's not all just about the money. I'm actually here to grow with you and assist you in that process.
I mean, the way I look at it is you're making their time at your house as a visitor a more pleasant experience. Okay. And that's if it's kind of like inviting a friend over for the first time. You just met somewhere. You want to be a good host. Yeah, you want to be a really good host. You want them to have a good experience at your house where you really like this person. You want to hang out with them. You want to become closer friends with them.
Right.
But they might not want to come back if they had a sour experience or awkward time, or their needs weren't met.
You were at the house for 5 hours and they didn't offer you any food or water.
Yeah. You just want to be a good host, and that's really what it is. It's not to say that that new friend that I'm trying to make can come and take over my bed and I'll sleep on the couch. Not like that, but you know what I mean. To the point where there are boundaries.
Sure.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And, but I think that's pretty important.
Now, why do you think, or what are some ways you think that startups can, because obviously, right, we're talking about customer experience is important. And I think that most people kind of understand that. And you mentioned that, a lot of times when you're kind of in the muck and you're building a new brand, building a new company, this particular topic or way of thinking might get overlooked.
Okay.
But still knowing that the goal is to have a great customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think startups in specific can have that temperature check, can have that gauge as to how their current customer experience is?
So in this day and age, there's several methods and tools
Okay.
that you can use. I feel that it's really subjective to your industry and the space that you're in.
Okay.
But in general, social media is a really good gauge now of,
How so?
of reviews,
Okay.
activity, engagement,
Okay.
feedback. And through social media, you can kind of get a direct, unfiltered voice of the customer. And that's where people are most raw, I would say, because it's an informal platform.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're thinking traditional ways, there's surveys that you can implement to get customer feedback.
Yeah.
What we've done, because of the world that we're in, our company, is more about, it's more of a personal touch rather than a little bit more of a generic touch. And it's more involved within emails and follow-ups and touch base with the clients over a certain period of time, and just maintaining a good relationship. Also, we also implemented several layers of just like quality check-ins, and I think, again, it varies. Like, we're in the service business, so it's different, right? We're sometimes we don't ever see or meet our customers.
A lot of times.
So I think they're, analyzing customer usage patterns and customer feedback patterns can also offer clues about the experience that they're going through.
Okay.
And also, everything that you gauge is going to directly compile a better customer experience that you can deliver to your customers based on everything that you can collect. I mean, again, for an e-com business, it'd be different, right? So it's just, we're talking about how, what their experience is. Typically, when you buy a product online, it's just a survey. And here's a 5-star rating, or here's an email. Can you rate us, please?
Yeah.
And that's what they show in their board meetings. That's what, it's just, that's what it is.
This is true.
So it's very different. It's difficult for us to do that because we're not dealing with hundreds of thousands of customers a day. We're in a high ticket business. So industry. So
Yeah. Okay.
I
would agree with a lot of what you mentioned too.
Well, what do you think?
I think a lot of it kind of comes down to something that we haven't really done yet, but even outside of that is I'm actually also kind of a fan of like the more informal methods where, let's say you've serviced a customer, you're towards the end of that delivery, and you kind of schedule a call. It's like, hey, I know we're towards the end of our deliverables here, or however you phrase it, whatever it is. I want to get an idea for you how your experience was and what you think that we can improve on. If you do that for 5 to 10, 15, 20 customers, I think you'll have a really good gauge as to kind of where you are. Keeping in mind, you have to have the tough conversations, where that, let's say, this particular client or person didn't get the best delivery or the best experience, because the reality is not everyone that you service will have, that 100%, kind of feedback or 100% experience that you would like them to. Now, obviously, it has to be some standard where, no one should be getting 20, 30, 40, 50%. But that's kind of the reality. So that's what I'm kind of a fan of. And, if you kind of built the relationship, with the client, especially if you're the one servicing them. They should feel comfortable kind of sharing their thoughts. And then you as the person that's running the company or that's servicing this person, you can take those things into account. You share it with whoever you need to share it. And you talk about it and you kind of discuss how you can improve. That for me is kind of the best method outside of kind of what you've mentioned. It's very direct, very, raw.
Yeah, I like that. I think that makes sense. I mean, can you think about a company in recent times or in history that has gained a competitive edge?
Yeah.
From a customer's experience perspective because of maybe similar methods like this?
I think the easy choice,
What?
Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
How so?
Think about what they offer.
What
They're
are
a fast food company that offers, chicken sandwich is kind of like their highlight.
Okay.
Now also think about all the other fast food places that offer a chicken sandwich. Pretty much almost every single one outside of maybe Taco Bell. Does Taco Bell offer one? I hate Taco Bell. So
I don't know, but I think a couple of companies copied Chick-fil-A when they had that chicken sandwich, and I saw some viral content, right?
But
What's your point?
even outside of that, my point is, if you kind of look at what each fast food company offers, it's very similar. It's not like Chick-fil-A has some insane or secretive kind of food going on or recipe.
Fair.
The reason why they're popular, now don't get me wrong, their food is really good, but their service, their customer experience is so unique and so much above what every other fast food place does.
How though? Like what?
You're in a place where if I'm at the drive-through,
Uh-huh.
the person that's servicing me is actually making jokes, making me laugh.
Like what? What kind of jokes are you cracking?
I don't know. I don't have a joke off the top of my head.
The drive-through guy is entertaining.
At
Chick-fil-A.
asking me how my day is, but then also keep in mind, if you've ever been Chick-fil-A, there's always gigantic lines. They move that line so quick. It's so organized.
Really?
There's like 3 or 4 people taking deliveries on the line. I mean, there's been so many memes and videos of Chick-fil-A employees literally going above and beyond for the customers.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow, that's funny.
I mean, James, maybe you can pull one up, or David pull one up, where there's been times where they're about to close and, one of the Chick-fil-A guys make them a sandwich and when it's after closing. I mean,
wow.
I'm saying that example, but that's not
real,
even, well, think about it, you go to McDonald's, that person is being like, nah, we're closed. Peace. That's the reality. At any one of those places, they're so corporate, they're very once it's 9 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever it is, they're done. It's a bad example, to be honest, but there's been so many things where, and I think a lot of people would agree that Chick-fil-A that's one of the main reasons why it's so popular outside of, just the food.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think it's an interesting example. I've never heard of it, but
What?
yeah, but that's good. That's
I mean, do you have one that was maybe you were thinking of that was more popular?
no,
Nothing.
nothing that's going to trump your Chick-fil-A situation.
Okay.
So, I think, as we kind of get into the startup world,
Sure.
right? How, I think how can startups improve upon their customer service or customer experience in general?
Yeah.
What are some strategies that they can implement? And this is something that I feel like at least I haven't really put too much thought into over the last couple of years until recent years, right? Even then, I think it comes down to understanding the fundamentals and the importance of it. And hopefully we've done well covering that point earlier.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that, man?
So what are my thoughts on strategies to improve it?
Yeah, to adopt to improve their customer experience.
I think the first thing that would need to be kind of understood is where you are.
Okay.
Right, where your customer experience is. Again, going back to what we spoke about before, where you don't know where to go if you don't know where you are. Okay. Now, let's say that you've spoken to a couple of clients or customers, past customers, current customers, and you see a trend that, let's say, they feel as if they're not getting enough attention, or there's been times where they're wondering what's going on or what the update is. And so one of the main things that I personally practice, and I think even as our team also practices, is kind of over communicating in a way.
Okay.
where, for me, there's never been a place where it's backfired if I'm over communicating with, someone that I'm working with.
I agree.
On a business level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other side of the coin, there can become massive problems if you under communicate. So you always want to be in a place where you're overly communicative. You're letting the person know what you're doing. These are kind of the three kind of, I'm not going to say pillars, but kind of 3 points that I always tell everyone I'm working with that you're going to know. What we're doing, how we're doing it, and then why we're doing it. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you can articulate the answers to those 3 questions every single time you're moving in a direction, every time there's a significant milestone that's been hit and you're moving on to the next one, the client, the customer will feel comfortable. When the customer feels comfortable, that's when the experience starts to get really good. Because there's not as much pressure on you, and they feel like, okay, you know what? I can trust Jack. He's got my back. He knows what I want. He knows what I'm looking for. And then if he doesn't, I know he'll come and ask me. Right? I think that's very important.
I think so too. I think you've very well said. I think that both me and you, we've heard each other say this to customers from different times where it's like, hey, you're going to hear from us a lot. Yeah. And if it gets annoying, you let us know, you know? And I think that that's always a much better thing than us not kind of paying too much attention to them outside of major updates. And that's the thing. We've seen both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
From good and extremely bad. Mm-hmm. And we've tried our best to mitigate that. And it's always much, much harder to solve and mitigate issues like that when it's too late.
I mean, the reality is that you'll know how good you explain something to a customer or how well they understand it by how many questions that they ask you. Mm-hmm. If you start to explain something to someone, whether it's what you offer, whether it's how you're going to deliver a particular, item, if they're asking you 30,000 questions, it's probably because you didn't really explain it that good.
Yeah.
Right? So what I've also found, for me, again, personally, is I always try to answer the questions that I know the customer would be thinking about before they ask them, right? Because for the customer, it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about because he knows the common questions or thoughts or even things that I may not understand. So you have to kind of pay attention to those particular points or particular items. And again, that also kind of comes down to kind of knowing the industry that you're in. Mm-hmm. But again, even outside of that, it's just about the customer experience. Even when I'm on the other side and I'm on the customer side, I love someone that explains everything to me as if I'm a 5-year-old, so that when they're done, do you have questions? I'm like, honestly, no. I feel great. Yeah. That's always the goal.
No, I think that's good.
I mean, in some of your past startups, what are some particular methods that you've used to kind of increase the customer experience or satisfaction rate, let's say?
I mean,
any of which that we've mentioned, or because I know it.
Yeah, we've mentioned a few,
okay.
But I think that less, not too much from my past startups, because I think a lot of it was learning experience was more about what we're currently doing now. Some of the best methods. I think first, we have always prioritized empathy, and I think truly trying to understand our customer and their needs. Mm-hmm. It enabled us to design our services around that, and around those needs. I think second, I would say we heavily relied on customer feedback, and data from, and I'm not talking about just from a survey, right? I'm talking about just general key metrics at certain moments of their service and time, and also what worked, what didn't work. So that helped us refine our services, I would say. And lastly, I would say that anything that you see that's out of the ordinary, that stands out to you, I would say don't put too much emphasis on that. I think we've done that in the past before.
Done what?
Where we look at an outlying data point.
Sure.
And then we start overanalyzing that and think that that's everything.
Okay.
I think that the key is to universally service any and everything as if that's going to be your main standard.
Yeah.
And I think that we've gone significantly better at that.
Absolutely.
Plenty of room to improve.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, again, it's all just about like communication. And you know, let's also keep in mind you actually have to want to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ask the tough questions.
Yeah, I think
it'll make you better every time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, now with the world of technology, I mean, in 2023, we've got AI, we've got so much going around us every single day. Can you think about, you know, what the role of technology is in this now? In the world of customer experience?
Really good question. I think, like, let's say talking about, or in specific, like AI, I think AI is going to provide a lot of automation for sure. But I think what we have to be careful with is just it doesn't get too mundane, which I also think that AI will also help with. Because AI is...
What do you mean too mundane?
Mundane where, you know, you call Chase and you got, you know, the Siri voice on the line. Right. There's nothing more than what I hate. I'm the guy that when that happens, I'm spamming 0 operator. You know, producer James is laughing because he knows like that's what I do. I know all the hacks. 0, hashtag 0, hashtag 0, hashtag 00. I know everything. But I guess what I'm getting at, I can't stand it. It's just like, get me someone.
Yeah.
Get me someone. But what I'm getting at is that I think AI is going to play a huge role, and I'm hoping that it can kind of take that Siri-esque character that's very mundane, and if you don't just say the right answer it asks you, it gets thrown off. Then you start from 0. It'll kind of take that to the next level, and maybe it'll get better in that sense. But I think at the end of the day, there will be nothing like talking to someone on the other. Excuse me. There will be nothing like talking to someone on the other line. There will be nothing like it. There's nothing like a human interaction and being able to specifically explain or describe what you're experiencing and then being able to kind of troubleshoot. So that kind of be my answer. What do you think? Do you have different thoughts on that? Or
no? Yeah, I mean, I think technology is going to, particularly AI, it's in its infancy right now.
Correct.
And the customer experience, I think I've already seen so many companies implement AI to improve their customer experience. But I think, you know, it's just too early, but future's looking pretty good on that, I would say.
We'll see wherever it may lead us.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about so far methods that have worked for us. Right. And why they worked, how we've been able to make them work. Let's talk about methods that you have tried that did not work. Are there any?
I would say the biggest is when we've scouted, let's say 4 or 5 different new methods of customer service or customer experience improvement points and strategies, and implement, let's say, a new method of being able to get certain feedback or data from a customer's journey within our company or using our service or a product, and implementing it without the proper training, wherewithal, and knowledge and experience. Let's say a tool in specific has been catastrophic and just a waste of time and resources.
Do you have a specific example?
Plenty. It's not one. We've tried plenty of different softwares, tools, different methods, and it's just the moral of the story in this particular example is never really go into anything without fully understanding what it is, fully training your staff or your team or the people that are going to be behind establishing and running that from start to finish. It's just, I would say we've spent a lot of money and wasted a lot of money on different tools and things that we've tested out in the past. And it's just, again, I wouldn't say it was detrimental to the customer experience.
Okay, that's good.
But it was more about things we could have done better and maximized on those opportunities better.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, like, there are all the times that, like, we've been working together. We've changed a whole lot of stuff, and I don't think I've experienced a tactic, let's say, or a method that's been catastrophic. I just think maybe there's been a couple that could have worked better but just didn't, let's say. So that would kind of be my thoughts on it. I mean, personally, other than working with you, I've always been a very I always want the customer or the person I'm working with by the time we're done working with each other, it's like, wow, that was really good. Like I like Jack is a good guy, good dude. He knows what he's talking about. He's an expert.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes that's been good for me. Other times it's not been good for me. You know, because if you deal with crummy people that want to take advantage, you know, that could be a route that happens. But you want people to like you, you know, especially in business. You know, you want to also like the person that you're working with.
Yeah.
You know, so that's super important to me personally.
I mean, on that note, I also want to add that doesn't matter how big or small your team is, if you've got other people mirroring the same methodologies, and when it comes to customer experience, you want to make sure that everybody on your team is on the same page.
Oh, undoubtedly.
So, like, for example, Jack's on my team. Let's say 3 other people, John, Doe, they're all on our team. And if Doe is saying... if Doe is...
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Nice. If Doe is out there saying wild, inaccurate things, which we've seen happen before, hence Doe. Doe is going to be doing a lot of bad things for you for sure.
No idea what you're talking about. Got to be honest.
So if you're not a unified front, where the messaging, every single person, you, John, Doe, every single person is all on the same page, representing the company, the brand in the same exact way when it comes to customer experience, customer service. If it's not a unified front, like everybody on the same page, everybody speaking the same language, then you're going to have severe problems. Right? Yes. So let's say if John, compared to the way you handle things differently, or is saying wild things to the customer that is inaccurate from the brand's messaging or the experience or what they're going to get, it's going to affect you severely in the long run, right? Yes. And it also has a problem of, like, I look at it as kind of like an infectious disease. It can spread from people to people, right? Because John is always hanging around Doe. All right, that's the last of my John Doe jokes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, and also on a more serious note, to kind of build on top of that, you never, because like for me, when you're saying what you're saying, the first thing I think of is being a yes man.
No.
And that's what I think of, right? And a lot of times
being a yes man to the customer.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I think that's really important.
And that's very, very infectious. Because the reality is this: the yes man always does good in the first half of the game.
That's a really good point.
Always. They always do really, really good in the first half. But after, you know, coming out of halftime, moving into the third quarter, the bridge starts burning down every single time. So especially for new people, or let's say people that don't have much experience doing business or any kind of sales work, you see John in this scenario, and damn, John is killing it. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me listen to what he's saying. Let me do this.
What about Doe, though?
Well, I'm going to get to Doe.
Okay.
And so if Doe hears John, and it's like, wow, like John's doing so well, yada, yada, Doe starts implementing those methods. By the time you know it, John's being a yes man. Doe is being a yes man. Dan is being a yes man.
Glee?
Eric is being a yes man. Before you know it, your whole sales team is now doing really, really good. It's like, wow, we're looking at the numbers. It's like, wow. July was a great month. June was a great month. September, great month. But then October comes, and it's like, what in God's name just happened? And we just, you know. And so, again, that's a little bit more of an extended point, but just to kind of keep in mind where, I think the customer experience, it's important to know when you have to be transparent, whether it's the good stuff or the bad stuff, you know. So
I agree. I think that you know, as we start to wrap here, right?
Sure.
You know, from it's important to remember that customer experience isn't just one department, right? It's an ethos that should run through the veins of your startup or your company. And the reason why I say that is because what you just said right now is a direct reflection of that statement, which is, you're talking about sales. You're talking about post-close. You're talking about just customer service in general. These are all different sectors and departments that sometimes overlap.
Yes.
But nonetheless, the customer goes through all of these different departments, right? So it's really, you know, it's not. I don't think you good? You heard that, right?
Yes, I heard
I
that.
know James just likes to whisper sometimes. He's it's so funny. We saw that clip of
I
that.
know,
We
it
were
was
supposed
so-
to cut that out.
It was so funny, bro.
That,
so funny,
that was circulating on for Venture Hustles, and James was like, "Jack,
Yeah.
dude, that's so funny."
Can you move up?
That's Sarah, my wife. She saw that and she was like, "What the hell is happening here?"
It's so funny.
But it's funny.
But okay, as we start to kind of wrap up here, right?
Mhm.
For those listening to this episode that just listened to us, for the last, let's say, 30 plus minutes,
Mhm.
what is one takeaway, or if someone were to take one thing away from this episode, what would it be for you?
For me,
Yeah, what would be one thing, one takeaway? Is there one? If not, maybe top 3. I don't know. But let's just kind of
I mean,
do your best to
just more
summarize here.
generic. I would say, customer experience is not a luxury, right? It's necessary
Okay.
for your business,
Nice.
and
That's a
and
good
with
point.
without it, we risk falling behind,
Mhm.
and in a very competitive, customer data driven marketplace.
Okay.
So I think that's my takeaway. Period.
Okay,
I mean, also, I want to sign off. This will be the last thing I say.
sure.
To all of our listeners, here's a challenge, right? Step into your customer's shoes, walk their journey, feel their frustrations, listen to their problems. I think we've just been going through that, whether good or bad. Also celebrate their triumphs,
Mhm.
and use these insights to create a customer experience that's not just satisfying but also unforgettable. And I think we're going to have some talks next week, Monday, Tuesday, to talk about some sour experiences we've been dealing with and how we can improve upon that. Because it can happen.
It will happen, really.
Anytime, anywhere.
It will happen. I've learned when you have a good day, personally, when I have a really, really good day, it's like I'm heading home, and it's like, wow, today was a crazy good day. I know when I wake up tomorrow, some shit's about to happen. Every time. That's just the way it goes.
Amen.
Right? So to that point, it's
But-
like you'll have the good ones, you have the bad ones. So
What are your final thoughts, Mr. Jack?
my final thoughts would be be in a place.
Did you say die?
I was gonna say diagnose.
Okay.
Be in a place where
Dark turn.
you're hyper focused on the experience
Okay.
and be willing to look at like the raw data. And by data, I mean, especially when you're a startup, it's crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Have an honest conversation with the customer. Whether it's, I think you would be surprised about the kinds of responses that you would have
Yeah.
if you had a conversation with 3 to 5 customers. And I'm not 3 to 5 customers. The conversation could be 15 minutes. In an hour, you're done. So take that time to have the conversation with the customer and get the honest feedback. Do your notes, and then you take that feedback and you review it with the team and see what you can do better. That would be my one point. I think that can help a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, you guys remember, you're also talking to people that have been doing this for years, both me and Jack. If you're in the service industry, I would say don't just take our word for it. I think it's one of the things that you need to do would be to actually educate yourself on how to talk to your customers, period. Because a lot of people don't even know that, don't even know how to do that. So I think there are a lot of different skills and levels. And for us, it just came with years and years of experience. But good or bad, you got to be able to listen, deal, deliver bad news when needed,
Yes. Yep.
if needed. And like you said, I think you'd be very surprised with the type of response and feedback that you would get.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's phenomenal,
Good and
sometimes
bad.
it's shit, but it is what it is.
Well, you'll find out things that you need to amplify, and you'll find out things that you need to kind of work on. So it is what it is.
All right,
The chain will keep moving. So as we now wrap up here,
Mm-hmm.
we appreciate all the Venture Hustles listeners out there. We hope you enjoy the day or night. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand, it's whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit, you just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles, time to take it to the next level. Let's go.